So, interesting words there coming from Kevin Eveld. You know, one of the most pathetic parts of this little story is how Kevin's trying to play the victim card here. Poor pitiful Sonia and Kevin being victimized. You brought this on yourself. Take responsibility for what you did. Take responsibility for your own actions. They quote you in this newspaper as saying that allegations against your wife are false and caused her a lot of stress. Well, let me correct that for you. There are no allegations against your wife. You see, what happened was your wife was using the city's Bank of America card to make personal purchases. And she self-incriminated once I started asking questions by providing checks to pay back those charges and sending me copies of the checks. That's not an accusation. She's admitted to that. And as far as anything else, well, there's a criminal investigation going on. And that didn't come from me. That came from the auditors. And you go on to say that she handled $13 million in 2017 and auditors found nothing wrong? Well, that's just straight up bullshit, Kevin. The auditors found a lot wrong. They found enough wrong that they wrote a letter to Special Prosecutor Etheridge, who went to see Judge Pearson so he could get permission to expand his investigative powers. That's a lot wrong, Kevin. That's not nothing. Anytime auditors send a letter to a prosecutor's office, I think that's something. But you're just pissed at me because I came in here and asked questions and ruined y'all's little party. Well, let me give you a little nugget to chew on. Had you just been upfront and honest all the way back in February, then none of this probably would have happened. You see, you didn't want me to find out the two of you had spent nearly $12,000 on hotel rooms. In a town that's this poor, you knew that wouldn't go over too well. You also didn't want me to find out how much money you were making. And so when I asked that question, you tried to hide that information from me. You were making more than the mayor. You're making more than anyone in your position anywhere in the state would make. There's no other volunteer fire department chief that was making, what, $56,000, $57,000 a year? And that's just what we found on the W-2. That doesn't count all the boots and the shirts and the pants and the gadgets and the toys and all the other little trinkets you bought for yourself. But if you would have just told me that up front, I would never have kept asking questions, but you didn't want me to know. So I asked it another way. And y'all kept me from knowing that too. You just kept trying to keep me from finding this information out. So what did I do? Well, I just requested the W-2 forms of every fire department employee. As usual, your wife was trying to trick me. And instead of sending me your W-2 and your assistant's W-2 and then the W-2s of any of the volunteers, she bombarded me with over 80 W-2s from all over city workforce. But best I can guess, at $15 a fire call, the average volunteer fireman in this town makes about $300 a year answering fire calls. Except, you know what Sonia gave me? She gave me the W-2 of your son and your daughter-in-law. You know, there's a reason why most places have laws against nepotism. You see, if paychecks started flying by a responsible city clerk made out to the son of the fire chief at about 20 times the rate of everybody else, that should have raised a red flag. But it was your wife signing the checks. You got a lot of explaining to do to the citizens of Ozark, Arkansas, how your kids could make $10,000 when the average person actually answering fire calls in the middle of the night gets $15. And the apple didn't fall far from the tree, did it? Because he then took the city's Bank of America card and started buying himself some trinkets and some bling and some clothes. In fact, you know what? We were at a city council meeting one night, me and my teenage son, and my son kind of elbowed me and he's like, "Dad, who's that round-headed dude that's staring at us?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I think that's his son." And so my teenage son is getting stared down by a grown-ass man. And so my son, being my son, he gets out his video camera and is like, all right, let's have the stare down, grown-ass man. And I was looking at this clip, which I'll show you right here. You see that shirt he's wearing? They all get t-shirts. I've double and triple checked. Not your son. Look at him. He's wearing about a $60 shirt that's custom embroidery with his name and rank on it. Nobody else got that. But you know what? I found the receipt for it. And he used the Bank of America card to make that purchase, and he signed Kyle Eveld on the receipt. Yeah. Let's have a little talk about that, Kevin. Accusations, you say? Well, let's go through a little laundry list that I've been keeping. In addition to the 30 or so times the clerk inadvertently, as she put it, used the city's credit card to make personal purchases, do you realize she broke the law by being in possession of government documents outside of her office? When she made that trip with her husband to go get the documents that are now part of a criminal investigation, and they detoured over and watched the Cardinals baseball game on Ozark's nickel. You know, that's how blatant these people are. There they are. He's just quit his job, a month before, and there's all kinds of stuff going around town, chit-chat about what's going on at City Hall, and they drive up to Kansas to get the very documents that the investigators are going to need for the investigation, and citizens had to pay for it, and they made a little vacation out of it. That's arrogance beyond belief. But that is actually breaking the law. Arkansas law says that a city clerk cannot possess government documents outside of the building. And she did that. How many thousands of documents was she in possession of? So is that 1 count or 1,000 counts? But it gets better. There are 82 federal information privacy offenses that I've counted, 6 felony records violations, 4 felony document fabrication violations, 1 internet crime violation, both at the federal and the state level. Or I should say computer crime violations. And the list could just go on and on and on. But Roxy Hall has done her dead level best to corrupt the investigation, and now the city council's doing the same thing, and they're going to reward bad behavior. Good God Almighty. I hope the people of this town get really pissed. And here we are. Oh, it's just a misdemeanor. Oh, and his name's Eveld, so we're not going to make an arrest. You know, if I was the lady that was running against your wife for city clerk, after she had to deal with a misdemeanor, I'd be so pissed. I don't know that I wouldn't find some way to bring legal ramifications against the city for that. It doesn't matter what your name is. If somebody took the city's credit card and made personal purchases with it, they should have to face criminal charges. And that's just a fact. It's just the way it is. That's society's rules. And it should be Ozark's rules too. So what are you going to do? Ozark, are you going to continue to go down this path of picking and choosing who can be arrested and who can't? Or are you going to speak up? I am absolutely sick to death of nobody having the courage to speak up. These people need to face justice. Ozark, speak up. What is wrong with this place? Demand justice. I am just sick to death of nobody having the courage to demand justice. And I guess this could have gone on for years and years and years, and nobody would have ever known the difference, because nobody cares enough to do anything, and nobody has the courage to speak out against it. You know, if you have information that needs to get out, I suggest you do it pretty quickly. If you're covering or protecting somebody that's involved in wrongdoing, you probably need to step away from that as quickly as possible. And if you're defending any of these people, rest assured somebody's taking note of your name. I only spoke to the Special Prosecutor once, and he assured me that he is quite well versed in dealing with small town corruption, and he assured me that he would get to the bottom of this, and he would not let political pressure or names, familial connections, any of the things that people in this town seem to think protects folks. He assured me he wouldn't let that get in the way, and he would seek justice. Now, that's just one small part of this. Let me remind you that I have someone who has my back, and that's the FBI. I had a very lengthy discussion with them. And the thing that's the most interesting about that very long interview that I did was they were already here. They're coming. The guys in the black SUVs and the suits. They'll be here. It may be 2 years, 3 years. The Federal Bureau of Investigations, they're slow but sure, and they're thorough. And if you've done anything, they're going to nail your ass to the wall. It's coming. I've tried to warn the City Council multiple times that they're protecting people and covering things up and now rewarding bad behavior. You're going to get caught up in this net because the net's already been cast out there and they're just in the slow process of reeling it in. Folks, if you have something to say, now's the time to say it. If you need to cover your own butt, now's the time to cover your own butt. You know, people, it's the 21st century, and you don't have to live in fear, because you can't get away with anything now. Nothing. There's law enforcement officials that are willing to help. There's law enforcement officials keeping a close eye on everything that's going on. I cannot believe that there are still people that are willing to defend this ridiculous corruption. But go ahead, you just keep right on defending it. That's all I have for this video. Again, if you've got something, you need to speak up. Clock's ticking.